Hello, I'm Bailey Leisure, and for the first time in almost a year, I'm doing an NBA video as I will be recapping the 2019 NBA Finals between. So this NBA Finals went to 6 games, and there was a lot of talking points with this series. And where to begin? So game one, obviously Toronto had a home court advantage. The Raptors won pretty much a pretty handily game, beat the Warriors, who were without Kevin Durant in this game. He'd been out since the middle of the Houston series. The Raptors won 118 to 109. The top scorer for the Raptors was Pascal Siakam. If I'm saying that wrong, I'm sorry. He scored 32 points. Moving on to game two, this was a game in the first half for the most part. I thought the Raptors dominated, and then towards the end of the first half, the Warriors were starting to come through, and that transition, into the third quarter where they've been great. That's really been their special quarter in this NBA playoffs. They scored 18 unanswered points to open the second half. Um, the Raptors were able to get back and got within, I think, a couple points in that last minute where the Warriors had the ball. Andre Iguodala drained a dagger three late, and as the Warriors were able to escape Toronto with the series 1-1 as they beat the Raptors 109 to 104, although they lost Klay Thompson to a hamstring injury, and definitely I'll be talking about him as injuries in him got involved later into the series. Game three, the Raptors took advantage of the shorthanded Warriors as they were missing Kevin Durant again, Klay Thompson and Looney, who were out. Kawhi Leonard scored 30. Steph Curry he looked like LeBron James from, those finals in 2018 and 2015. He put up 47 points, but the Raptors handily defeated the Warriors 123 to 109. So the Raptors took advantage of an injured Warriors team. Game four, luckily for the Warriors, they did get Klay Thompson back. I thought to start off that game, the Raptors they looked really sluggish and they were looking sloppy, but the Warriors kind of let them hang around. I think going into the half, the Warriors were only up by 4 points, and the Raptors made them pay. They outscored Golden State 37 to 21 in the third quarter. Serge Ibaka, who was really an underrated player in this series, for the Raptors, scored 20, while Kawhi Leonard went on to score 36 points. And despite Klay Thompson, like I said before, returning, the Raptors were able to handily win this game 105 to 92, taking the series back to Toronto up 3-1. And here we go, Game 5. Kevin Durant was able to come back from the calf injury. He returned. He started off great in this game, scored 11 in the first quarter. Unfortunately for him, he got hurt early in the second quarter. We later found he had to get helped off the court. Definitely some controversial moments, as I think for a little bit the Raptors fans were cheering at this moment, which was not a great look for them, to say the least. I think even Raptors players were waving them off, telling them to stop it, which was good for them. Kevin Durant, and a big impact on the NBA. Definitely, we found out that he had to have surgery on his Achilles as he tore his Achilles. So that was definitely not great. The Raptors, I feel like the Warriors they kind of had control of this game, but they were doing things to let the Raptors, trying to give the game away, in my opinion. And, they were up by, I think the Raptors eventually got the lead. They were up by 6 points with 2 minutes left when Nick Nurse called a timeout, which was pretty controversial. And the Warriors took advantage of that. Klay Thompson and Steph Curry hit some big three-pointers. I think they went on a 9-0 run. Kyle Lowry ended up having the ball in the last seconds. He missed a game-winning three-point shot, which I don't know why he took. The Warriors were able to escape Toronto with a 106 to 105 win. Steph Curry had 31 points, but they lost Kevin Durant in the process. And then we move on to Game 6. So Kyle Lowry and Siakam, they got off to good, fast starts. I think Kyle Lowry scored the first 11 points for the Raptors in this game. It went back and forth. Klay Thompson, was leading the way, and Draymond Green was dominating with rebounds. He had 19 rebounds in this game. I think Klay Thompson had, 30 points in this game. But obviously a big moment was late in that third quarter when he was trying to go for a dunk up the rim. He was driving to the basket with Danny Green defending him. He fell down. Had to get helped off, was getting help to the locker room. In the NBA, if you can't shoot those free throws, you're out for the rest of the game. So he came back in, shot the free throws. They ended up fouling. He went back to the locker room. He was trying, from hearing from sideline reporters, there was reports saying he was trying to jump and warm up the game, and then we eventually got reports saying he was out for the rest of the game. We found out he tore his ACL. Just, the injuries were just stacking up for the Warriors, and devastating injuries were happening for them. The Warriors were staying in the game. The Raptors eventually got the lead, and the last 10 seconds they had the ball. Steph Curry missed a go-ahead shot a three-pointer, missed it. Draymond Green, I think, was able to get a loose ball. He called a timeout, even though but unfortunately for the Warriors, they did have no timeouts, so they called a technical foul. Kawhi Leonard was able to hit, free throws, and the Warriors were able to, the Raptors were able to close out this series with 114 to 110 game in Game 6, and they were able to win their first ever NBA championship. So the Raptors, they won this series 4-2, the first ever championship, the first time a Canadian basketball team has ever won the NBA championship, and their first Big Four title since the 1993 Toronto Blue Jays. Kawhi Leonard, for the second time in this decade, won his Finals MVP. Also the second time in this decade, he denied a team from a three-peat, as he did this in against the 2014 Miami Heat when he was still a member of the San Antonio Spurs. He becomes the third player in Finals history to win MVPs with two different teams. The other players being LeBron James and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Nick Nurse, after last season's playoff swept by the Cavs. They changed coaches from, Coach of the Year Dwayne Casey to Nick Nurse. He won as a rookie head coach, so a great story there. And the Raptors were able to take their championship. And for the second day after the St. Louis Blues won their first championship in hockey, the Toronto Raptors were able to win their first championship So for the Warriors, the way they lost, it was definitely a pretty devastating loss for them. They lost all their games at Oracle Arena. I did not. If you told me that was going to happen, where the Raptors were going to win every road game that they played, I would have not believed you. They lost all the games at Oracle Arena. Definitely not a great. And as you know, this was the last season that they are playing at Oracle Arena, as they're moving to San Francisco for next season. Definitely. I think the Warriors I've said it. I've tweeted about this, and I've talked about this with friends. I think the toll and just, the wear and tear, I think just took a toll on the Warriors. I think when you make these deep playoff runs, for years, for 5 years, it takes a toll on the body, and sure enough, it did for Klay Thompson and Looney. Andre Iguodala was banged up, Kevin Durant. It just took a toll on them. And this could have potentially been the end of the dynasty. And I know a lot of people wanted the Warriors to lose, but in a way, you kind of feel bad for them just the way they're going out. Obviously, Klay Thompson and Kevin Durant are free agents, and this definitely would have been the off season for them to, now that they have their championship rings, was to make that big paycheck. And they have injuries that could likely take them out for the entire of next season. So it was definitely not great for them for this to happen to them. So it's really, I think they're still a playoff team, even with just Steph Curry and Draymond Green. But a lot of question marks, and I think for the first time in a decade, the NBA, especially the Western Conference, is just wide open. What were your thoughts on the NBA Finals? What do you think is going to happen to the Raptors? What do you think is going to happen to the Warriors in the aftermath of the 2019 NBA Finals? Leave in the comment section below. As always, follow me on Twitter at BillyLeisure96. Click like if you like the video. Subscribe if you like the content on my channel. And if you're a fan of hockey, I just did a 2019 Stanley Cup Final recap between the St. Louis Blues and the Boston Bruins, so you can check that video out. The description is in the link, or the link, is in the description below. So thanks everybody for watching, and I will see you all later.